Since 1892, St James's Park has been the home of Newcastle United. We are one of the only city centre clubs in the whole of the UK. It's the beating heart of the city. We call it the cathedral on the hill. It forms part of the history, the heritage, the fabric and the skyline of not just the city, but the people of Newcastle and the surrounding areas. We should be deeply and immensely proud of having our home at St James's Park. I know I am. Unfortunately, Newcastle United hasn't tasted domestic success since 1955. That's absolutely astonishing for a club the size of Newcastle United. And today, under new ownership, under Saudi Arabian ownership, who are ploughing money into the club, where it can, we can almost smell a trophy around the corner. We can almost see success in our peripheral vision. But we need a bigger stadium so more fans can bring more money. But are our new Saudi Arabian owners about to compromise and sacrifice a big part of Newcastle's history by moving away from St James's Park? But also, are they about to compromise and destroy two important pieces of Newcastle's history, i.e. putting a new stadium right here where I'm stood inside a Grade 2 listed park, Newcastle's oldest park. So in this video, I want to ask, is the success and more money for Newcastle United more important than the history and heritage of the city? It's coming up. Welcome back, it's Eddie here from Tyneside Life. Now, a couple of days ago, I released a video about the prospect of building a stadium here in Leazes Park, and I had an update, some news, having spoken to one of the key stakeholders of Leazes Park, the Park Management Authority, Urban Green, to see if they'd heard anything about a potential move of a stadium into the park. The day I released that video, it was then announced in the press that Newcastle United, through Brad Miller, our Chief Operating Officer, a decision on the direction the club are going to take has been delayed until early 2025. Of course, most of us know that over the past few months there's been a deeply complex feasibility study being carried out by the club, and they've been looking at all the options of what they can and can't do and the possibilities of expansion or rebuild or relocate the stadium. As part of those discussions, because we're in a city centre location surrounded by listed buildings and a listed park, there will have been discussions with Newcastle City Council and the custodians of the land, the freemen of Newcastle United, which of course is where St James's Park is now, because even, for example, they were to rebuild in the current footprint but just encroach slightly into Leazes Park, they need to be chatting with the freemen of Newcastle and Newcastle City Council. It has been suggested to me a few times through comments since I released that video a couple of days ago that non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, would have been signed, and they wouldn't have told me anyway. So let me just explain about NDAs a little bit. If Newcastle United are actually trying to pursue the building of a stadium inside Leazes Park, of course NDAs will be signed. But Urban Green are integral to the park management. They work in partnership with Newcastle City Council, in partnership with the freemen of Newcastle. To keep that a secret from Urban Green is quite an astonishing claim. If Urban Green, and of course the people who work in Urban Green will be aware of the same kind of speculation that we all are, had any sniff that there was some sort of huge multi-billion pound plans to put a huge stadium inside Leazes Park, and a YouTuber like me comes sniffing around asking for information, they wouldn't touch me with a barge pole. They would have either fobbed me off with an excuse or just completely ignored my initial approach, rather than fully cooperating, giving me all the information I asked for, and then on top of that, if they knew something at all, lied about any awareness of a park, a new stadium inside Leazes Park. If Craig Hope from the Daily Mail, as he is claiming, is aware of conversations between Newcastle United and the freemen of Newcastle about the utilisation of Leazes Park, then as sure as damn it, Urban Green knew all about it. The reason Urban Green were quite cooperative and open with me with information is because there's nothing to tell of any significance. But let's just put all that aside just for a second. Let's just imagine that Urban Green are genuinely completely oblivious to plans to build a multi-billion pound stadium in the park that they manage. And I am just getting this absolutely, completely wrong. Is this what it's all about now? Saudi Arabia, our new current owners, are going to sacrifice and compromise the history and heritage of our city just for a few extra thousand seats in a stadium to bring in more money? And let's just say, for example, the answer is yes to that question, to many of you Newcastle United fans out there that think that it's just a park. Some have claimed it's a dump. It's in a bit of a state. I'm not sure which Leazes Park you're referring to. I'm in here quite regularly, walking through the park at least once a week. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm deeply proud of the park that we have right behind St James's Park. But even if the Newcastle City Council and the Freemen of Newcastle give the nod to the club about a stadium inside Leazes Park, they don't have a say on the final outcome, none of them, because it has to go to the public. We'll have conservation groups and local residents kicking up a fuss, pushing back, signing petitions. It's likely that all of this will, in time, it could take a couple of years and go through a very expensive process, end up in a public inquiry. And there is no guarantee that Newcastle United will win. The exact same circumstances that happened in 1997. And yes, times have changed since 1997. We have, as a society, become more ecologically aware. We are more driven to protect the ecology and the habitats of our areas and the green spaces that we have. So I would fully expect fierce pushback from residents and conservation groups. So are Newcastle United going to take that risk by saying, yeah, we're going to build a park and stadium in Leazes Park, only for a year, 18 months, 2 years down the line, they fail in that endeavour and then they're back to the drawing board? I don't think so, personally. All things considered, what do I personally think the club are deliberating right now before this announcement in 2025? And I think they're, in essence, deliberating over two completely different choices. One is to expand St James's Park, i.e. put some sort of extension tier, cantilever tier on top of the Gallagher end, but you're only going to get 5,000 or 6,000 extra seats. It's an extension onto an already old stadium, a stadium with, in my opinion, poor facilities. And I've been to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, and that is what a stadium should look like. This is old, it's outdated, the facilities are crap, and with an extension, you know, there are some risks with that, because I have said this is a once in a generation opportunity. There's only one cheque going to be written, and I interpret that as that deliberation between expanding St James's Park, but more likely rebuilding St James's Park where it currently sits. When they're talking about a once in a lifetime opportunity for Saudi Arabia, I have to believe, to give Newcastle, the fans of Newcastle, the city of Newcastle, a stunning super stadium where it's at now. In engineering terms, of course, I don't know exactly how they'll do that, but imagine this huge bowl of a stadium, like a big Aviva stadium, getting with 65, 70,000 seats inside of there. It'll be absolutely stunning, but there'll be disruption with that, because we are going to probably have to find somewhere else to play. But there are opportunities, for example, with these flat pack stadiums that can be built, like the one in Qatar, which has a capacity of about 45,000. They might be able to negotiate with the Freemen of Newcastle to utilise the town moor for a couple of years to have a temporary stadium where we can play while they rebuild St James's Park. And when it's finished, they can dismantle a flat pack stadium, for example, and put it back, the moor, the way it looks today. And in the meantime, the whole city is benefiting, the area, the moors are benefiting by all this extra revenue and income that it's going to be getting. That's what I think. I think they want to rebuild St James's Park, and that's what they're deliberating over. So that's where I personally stand on all of this. Is money and potential success more important than the history and heritage of our city? Personally, I'm embarrassed by the talk and the glib notions and suggestions of just destroying famous and historical sites of the city of Newcastle just for money and potential success. I don't think it reflects very well on us at all.